Balls Deep.
Welcome everyone to episode 10, to the best podcast in the world, Balls Deep. If you are here and you expected to find something else, then please stay. You know, you might not get from this podcast what you originally searched, but you might get something else out of it. You might get some reflection on, on life. It may not assist you in what you're currently trying to do, but come back once you've finished that. It's okay with what you're doing. We're not angry at it. It's totally fine. We all do it. Enjoy it, but come back. Because
Come and then come back.
Yeah. We will give you a double orgasm. So we'll see you in 5. But for the listeners that come here for the right reasons, hello. My name's Scott.
My name's Shelby.
And we love you. And we talk about all sorts. I don't know why I'm introing us. We're on episode 10. I don't know. We've been recording.
Go to episode 1.
Yeah, if you want to know who we are, go to episode 1. But I think because we've been traveling so much in the last couple of months, and we've been recording these episodes in bulk because it can be quite challenging to record them when we're traveling about a lot. So we do one every 2 weeks on Tuesday at 10 a.m. That may not seem like a lot, but when you're traveling about a bit, everything is a lot to get in. Even just having personal time can be a lot. It can be challenging to get in. So that's why we might feel a bit out of sync, but we are ready to dazzle you with some interesting stories, because let me tell you now, we have a lot. And the thing is, when we build these episodes out, we always have more stories than we can cover. So like we literally have documents like pages long, and there's so many funny stories in there. Like there's funny, there's weird, there's scary, there's creepy. There's just everything in there, isn't there?
There really is. We've got many stories, and we can share out a few. But I'm sure in the many episodes to come, we'll be like, do you remember last year when? And that will become a story for that podcast episode.
It really will. So it's hard to hand select them, but anyway, we give it a go. So today we want to, dive into our past sort of travels, what we've been up to, and where we've been is India. So really, for some reason, we're starting with the flight out of India. So maybe we don't start with that. Let's start with in India. Our first bullet point is about the flight out of India.
Which is the best part of the trip. That's why. Best part about India is leaving. No, that's harsh. That's unfair.
I'm so glad we haven't told our friends and family about this podcast, because I work in a company which has a lot of a big Indian presence, and partly the reason we went to India was to meet them. So,
which, to be fair, meeting everyone there was delightful. That was a real joy, genuinely. It's just the other parts of India that we struggled with.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a joy to meet them. I was so glad. For years I've been trying to get over there, so I was so glad to finally meet them and being able to meet my team in person. It was so lovely. Have meals with them, really get some good work done, and just socialize, have meals, have drinks, and just even having lunch, just chatting. I learned quickly Indians love food. Honestly, they fed us to the, oh my goodness. I don't know what the example would be there, but that guy who blows up into a big ball on Charlotte in the Chocolate Factory.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, you get fed well in India.
Wined and dined. Indians know how to eat and they know how to party.
They really do. Just be mindful of the food though, because Jesus Christ. And this isn't an overstatement. Like Shelby can vouch me on this. I had an upset stomach for the entire month. There was about 5 days, I would say, in the 30 days that I didn't have an upset stomach. And that involved everything you would expect. So every morning I woke up with cramp in my stomach, like really burning sensation in my stomach, really painful. And that happens every now and then with maybe something you ate, and it'll go on for a couple of days. It might go on for a week, but it doesn't go on for a month. So that was taxing. So I was popping all sorts of Ayurvedic pills and medicines to try cool it down, but we just couldn't get over it. That's one of the tough things of India is the food is really flavorful. It's very complex in how it's built. If we were to compare it against a UK Indian, I would say the food, the spices are a lot more complex. They use a lot more spices. You can really taste a lot more flavor in the food, which is really, really nice to experience, and also really nice to experience watching someone cook it, which we were able to cook it, because honestly, there's days of preparation that just goes into just cooking a meal they would have in the week. I mean, at home we would do days of preparation for like a Christmas dinner, when you're gonna have all the family round, or days of preparation for a birthday dinner. But they were doing it for just a Wednesday's dinner, and I thought that was quite interesting. And really admired the level of effort that went into that. So
I think that's probably testament to how good the cuisine is, how beloved the cuisine is as well, the world over. Like, I think that food becomes that iconic for a reason. I think Indian people really put a lot of care into the food that they make, and I think that sharing food with your family, that's a big part of their culture. Similarly, like in Italy, people will spend a lot of time making the pasta, making these beautiful dishes, and it's something that they make together. So I learned that sometimes women will just sit around and make noodles together. Like, they'll make these really fine noodles that take ages, like hand-rolled noodles, and that's like a social activity as well. So eating is not just obviously people the world over enjoy food, but I think that in India it's about so much more than sustenance. Like, it's really about family, it's about society, it's about about the culture. Like, Indian people love feeding other people. They love to provide food not just for their family, but for their friends, for their neighbours, for guests. I think it's beautiful.
Sorry if you got some interference on the mic there. We're still one mic down, because for whatever reason. Also odd about one mic breaking, which broke about a month ago, because we've been traveling non-stop. Every 2 weeks we've moved to a different place, not been able to acquire one. All of our devices have broken. We're in Paris, we're in Europe, and nothing works. And it's not specific to France that there's a problem. Our phones have stopped charging. Our plugs have stopped working. It's bizarre.
Portable charger stopped working. The portable charger.
Yeah, and it's worked for the last 6 months, but we've got them to France. It's all broken. We really can't add it up. It's bizarre. Yeah, I mean, you could blame India. I mean,
what did India do?
Well, India. Another crazy thing about India is just before I do get onto it though, just a fact, just to know with India food, because it's important to know, is it's not the chili that gets you, it's the masala powder. I didn't know that. So even when you ask for food to be not hot, you can still get a bad stomach, because it's the masala powder they use. And when the masala powder hits your stomach, it's not the chili, it's the heat. So when it hits your stomach, it's like the level of heat of your stomach it makes. It actually, your stomach isn't used to it, being on fire. Therefore, it gives you an upset stomach. So just because you're not asking for chili doesn't mean that your stomach's not going to be hurting the next day. So just be very mindful of that. The blooming, all our devices been not working because the plug sockets are fucking so dangerous in India.
You need rubber gloves.
Honestly, and this is fair to say, because I even, I had a chat with some of my colleagues about it. We'll go, what the fuck's wrong with your plugs? Honestly, it's like pretty much every time we put a plug in, it would spark. It would spark. Like, the plugs wouldn't. And it's the one place where our converters wouldn't work. So we've been to, like 6+ countries this year. And, our converter would work in every single place. It would just convert, UK plug. But India, it wouldn't work at all. So we bought some local plugs. And even they would have, we'd have problems with them. And it would just, every time you put it in, it would spark. It made, it burnt all our plugs. It made them all black, the pins. It would barely work. And if it did work, you're going to get an electric shock with it.
Yeah, and even like sometimes I'd be sat, looks like I'd be sat in the living room in Delhi teaching, and that plug socket, it'd spark when you first put it in, but then sometimes it was making like a zzz, so I had to unplug it because, and it would spark occasionally as well. So that was pretty scary. But yeah, we've now got, like Scott said, this issue with nothing charging. Like, we're charging my phone through the blooming Wi-Fi router right now.
Literally.
We have managed to get the laptop charging, but only if the plug's a certain way up and only sometimes. Yeah, it's really, really strange. And yeah, the plug sockets in India were super scary. I mean, it seemed like not a lot worked as we expected it to in India, did it?
No. Yeah, there was some... I mean, the plug sockets I didn't know were going to be a challenge. But the food, I knew that was going to be hot, but I didn't know about the masala powder, which is a sneaky one, because you think, oh, okay, I'll just ask without chili. But they take out chili, but the masala powder's still in it. It doesn't taste hot. You eat it, and then a couple hours later, your stomach's going to be hurting. The next morning, you're just going to be in cramps all morning. You're going to lose the last 3 hours of your sleep, and you're going to be, shitting all morning. So it's, there were things that I feel we were aware of, but we didn't know the extreme of them. And another one that I would say is the busyness of the place, of India. So we went to Mumbai and Delhi, and they are quite different, which we'll tell you about. But Mumbai especially, I mean, India as a whole, everything we experienced was very busy. But Mumbai... I mean, I can't even put into words how busy Mumbai was, so I'm going to let Shelby try to figure it out.
Right, Yorkshire listeners, and I know there are probably none of you right now. It's like Meadowall on Christmas Eve, every day, all the time. That's what it's like. Or just imagine you're, what is it, Trafford Centre, is it Bullring, I think, in...
Bullring? Oh, in Birmingham.
In Birmingham, yeah. Florida Mall.
Blue Water, yes, in London. Just imagine you're busiest shopping centre on Christmas Eve, like an hour before closing time, and that is what Mumbai is like. So you just cannot cross a road because traffic lights are a mere suggestion. They are not they are not observed. No. It's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, there are traffic lights and there are walk signals, but nobody crosses at the crossing, and it doesn't seem like there is a side of the road that they drive on.
No.
It should be the left, but particularly bikes will just drive wherever in diagonal direction, sideways, upwards, downwards, anywhere. And yeah, it's just, you've got to basically just stare down a driver. You got to walk out, put your hand out, and be like, right, I'm crossing. You got to be, that ballsy lollipop lady at school who would just walk out in the middle of busy school traffic and stick her hand out. You've got to be that woman, and you've got to stop the traffic and just walk and pray that you don't get hit, basically. But yeah, in between the restaurants, there's like little shops and things, and you just cannot move at all. You've really got to push by people. If you don't like being touched by people, and you don't like people in your personal space, Mumbai is hell on earth. Yeah.
Yeah, you're fucked. You are fucked.
Yeah, it is, and also prepare to be emotionally mugged is all I'm going to say, because there are people. Of course, there's poverty is a real issue in India. I mean, it's an issue the world over, but in India it's quite obvious, and people will ask you for things. At one point we were at a temple, and a girl even asked me for the bottle of Pepsi out my hand, and so I gave her it, of course. But it's so there's people. A lot of people, and a lot of poor people, and a lot of people that will want you to give them something. And it's quite, yeah, it's a very stressful environment, I would say. What would you say?
Yeah, I would say it's a taxing environment. Like, I'd experienced poverty before. I know you would a bit. But I'd been to Tanzania before. And, you know, I mean, poverty is on, another level there, as you'd expect. So I'd seen that. And when that did happen, I was shocked by it. And, you know, no matter how much you see it on TV, and no matter how much you read, it just doesn't, you don't understand it until you see it. And I think that tends to, when someone says that, you know, it's quite easy to clock off and go, yeah, whatever, you know, yeah, oh, because you've been there, you know it all. I don't know it all. All I can say from my experience, seeing it on TV and being in it, it hit me different. And I didn't expect it. I didn't plan for it to hit me different. It just did. Like, for the first 2 months, for the first 2 days of Tanzania, I didn't really speak much. I just remember being very quiet for 2 days, because I was just so gobsmacked by just how real it was. And again, I knew it was real. I knew people lived on the streets, but just when you see it, and you see a 6-year-old child, you know, skin and bones, just begging on the street, you know, just picking up rubbish, trying to make money off bottle caps, and they just want you to give them the last drop of your water. Like, it hits you different when it's actually happening in front of you, and you actually see it, and you can touch them. It's different. So I was prepped for that for India. I knew we were going to get that. So at that bit, I don't, you know, it's not nice, but I was sort of aware that was going to happen. So it didn't sort of freak me out as much, you know. Yeah, there's moments where you go, oh, Jesus, you know, there will be moments where you see things and you see people where they are in a state, and you're like, it's hard not to go, fucking hell. Like, that is a rough way to live, but you sort of get numb to it. But the thing that hit me most was just the busyness. The busyness was just, like Shelby said, was just nuts. Like, it's not like the city centre is busy. It's the entirety of Mumbai is busy. So, it's like you were saying, Meadowhall. You are literally shoulder to shoulder, like walking down the high street. It's not, oh, there's a big crowd. You are shoulder to shoulder. You are slipping through people just to get to McDonald's, or just to get to the shop over there. You are literally pushing yourself through people. I just don't get how, with respect to my team, if they listen to this ever, I don't get how you can live in it. It's really not for me. I know it's not for you. And we went on a bit. We had one of my colleagues. Sid and Snehal, lovely couple. I work with Sid, and we were so grateful they took us around, and we had a lovely day. But they took us up to this nice church, and they were saying, you know, they're pointing out the properties around us, and they were saying, oh yeah, these properties go for $1 million, these go for 3 million, and we're like, what, £3 million? And they were, yeah, that's 3 million, that's 1 million. This is luxury. This is where you'd want to live in Mumbai. And I was looking around, and I was seeing, you know, people homeless there. Your corner shop is, you know, a stall with some bananas that are looking pretty sad. You've got rubbish everywhere. And I know to the city centre, which is just behind us, is as busy as anything. I go, what are they paying millions for? Like, seriously, what are you paying for? And I don't mean that as an offence. Just for me, it is not my cup of tea. For a bit of travel, sure. But I cannot wrap my head around why someone would pay that money for it.
No, likewise. And, you know, I mean, Delhi, which we'll get onto probably very shortly, but is a different kettle of fish altogether. Like it's the infrastructure in Delhi is much better. Like, you know, the roads are drivable as opposed to like dirt roads that. So what? Yeah, even, you know, driving on the main roads in Mumbai, you're going to get car sick because it is not a road. Like you couldn't call it a road. It's bumpy everywhere. But yeah, it doesn't make sense to be. Again, to reiterate what Scott said, we had a lovely day, and, you know, thanks very much to Sid and Snail for showing us around. Like, we had a great time, but it's definitely, I couldn't imagine why you'd pay millions to live right in the thick of it there, because it's just utter chaos. Like, you wouldn't be able to get anywhere in any reasonable amount of time. Like, it's, you know, you'd be as quick walking some places than you would driving them, but yeah, it's. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we've done it. But I can't think of anyone that I would say to, yeah, you should go to Mumbai, you'll love it. Like, I can't think of a single person that I know that would like that chaos. But Delhi, I would recommend. You know, I would say go to Delhi and take the trip. Like, we took the a day trip to the Taj Mahal. It took about 3 hours, I think, to drive to Agra. And that was wonderful. It was hot as hell. Like, choose your month carefully. But that was fun, and it was great, and I would recommend that because that's a good way to experience Indian culture. Maybe I'm being really ignorant. I'm saying, oh, you should go and experience this Indian culture, but not that Indian culture. But in terms of cities in India, Delhi is more comfortable, and I feel like we've still got that authentic experience. Like, you've still got your authentic restaurants, you've still got the temples to visit, you've still got really interesting monuments. Like, we went to Qutub Minar, and that was really interesting. You've still got your interesting mosques and things, odd and Jain temples, the Red Fort, so much that you can do in Delhi. Whereas Mumbai, I feel like the main thing that you're getting is chaos. That's my opinion on it anyway.
Yeah, it's if you want a real out there experience, and it, you know, that experience for you, you know, you're happy to be a super 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 busy city with poverty, then go for it. But if you don't want that down, if you're not interested, yeah, my final advice would be, you know, if you're traveling purely for, I just want to experience totally new things, I just want to see the weird and wonderful of the world, I would say go to India. I still probably won't bother with Mumbai just because you can still get that in India. You can still get all the fun. Just, I don't think you really need the stress of how busy it is for the sake of that. But if you're not looking for any of that, then I wouldn't bother with Mumbai. I think it's unfair. It is unfair for us to say don't go to India because we've only been to 2 places. There will be many beautiful places in India. We've heard, you know, Goa is supposed to be very nice. We've heard Rajasthan, Kashmir, Lucknow. We've heard all these more chilled out places. So, you know, don't take that as a full representation of the country. That would be very unfair. You know, we've not been to those places, and I'm sure they're, you know, a bit more comfortable. So yeah. But something crazy happened while we were in Mumbai. Actually, we had a freak storm, and it's interesting because, you know, Mumbai and India as a whole is known for, you know, extreme heat and extreme rain. And the extreme heat is pretty much everywhere, but the extreme rain isn't. The extreme rain is actually only in certain parts of India, Mumbai being one of the main parts. Also, Mumbai, didn't know, Mumbai never used to be one place. It used to be separated into multiple islands, which blew my mind. So Mumbai used to be called Bombay. It used to just be islands, but then they just filled the water in and just made one big area to extend India, make Mumbai. Therefore, why it floods all the time. But anyway, it's coming up to rainy season, which it will now be. And it was actually a sunny season when we were there. But there was a freak storm where a big dust storm happened. and it actually ended up putting out all the electricity of Mumbai, which apparently is also quite rare for Mumbai. And it was so crazy, it knocked over this huge billboard. So big this billboard was. Apparently, it was in the Guinness World Records for being the biggest billboard in the world. And it got knocked out. It got blew over, and it killed like 20 people. So pretty nuts. So luckily, we were both in pretty strong buildings when it happened. I was in a business building, and you were in the apartment. So we're in strong structures. So luckily, it didn't affect us. But yeah, pretty nuts. And I was none the wiser. I was in a meeting room just having a meeting. The only thing I noticed was the power went out, and we laughed at it because I was presenting and the power went out. So it all went black, and it was black for like 15 minutes, and we just spoke. But I didn't realize the seriousness of it until after.
Yeah. I mean, the power didn't actually go off in the apartment building because I was teaching online, and I could see it like where I was sat. Excuse me. Where I was sat had my voice has gone super weird. I'm gonna have to talk.
Yeah, shall we get some water? But yeah, it was pretty nuts. It was pretty.
I'm back. So I was teaching on my laptop, and the sort of balcony windows were behind me, and I could just see that it was getting darker, and like it looked just really sandy and dusty and dark for the time of day. But yeah, it wasn't until later when we were speaking to people about it that we learned the severity of it, and that it was all in the news. We saw videos of rickshaws driving in it, and then like just things like collapsing in the streets, and it's pretty scary. Like it was an absolute freak storm, which we've learned that they've even had tornadoes in the past, which is nuts. So yeah, crazy weather in Mumbai, absolutely. Going to the airport, something that people should be aware of, actually, in all of India, is how serious the security is, because they have like military there, and they will want to see every little thing.
I've got a funny story about that, actually. Yeah, out of all the places we've been on this leg, I would say actually anywhere, this is out of all the countries, it had the most security everywhere. India, which we didn't realize, it just everywhere you went there was a lot of military. The airports was full of military. You had people. They even had sentries at the airport, and even at certain monuments they had sentries. And what a sentry is it's a specific point which has been built with a marksman on it with a rifle, literally sat there all day, who is there just to guard the entire thing. So he is sat with his rifle ready, aimed, and ready to, as a watch out. So and they have that at the airport. And it's the only airport where they actually check your passports before you even get into the airport. So we were very confused because, it looks like everyone's getting checked in before they even get in. And we were like, okay, what number do we go to? So I went to this sentry, which I thought was an information box. And I looked up at him and went, mate, I don't get, where's this airline at, which door? And then he was like, what? And then I sort of looked, and I was sort of looking up at him, speaking to him. And I sort of glanced something at my nose, and I sort of looked down, and it could not be any closer, just as close as this mic is to my face. And it was just the nozzle of his rifle at my nose. I don't know if he had that on safety, but fuck me. I jumped back and went, oh, jeez. I was like, oh, you're a sentry. But he did help me in the end, which was quite funny. But he had rifle locked and loaded, and I just popped up this white Brit just trying to ask him for information. If he didn't have that on safety and he pulled that trigger accidentally, I would have been dead for sure. So yeah, the security is serious there. The people are lovely. I just want to add that the people, the locals, the security, they're all lovely. But the security is heightened. So just going into the airport, you need quite a bit.
Yeah, funny story about that is that I saw when you were approaching it that it wasn't information, but you're already too far gone for me to stop you. Like, there's a big not information on it sign.
Well, you would have really regret if he pulled that trigger then.
Well, yeah, of course I would. But I didn't know what he was. I just knew he wasn't information. I was like, oh, well, there's someone there you can ask. It'll be fine. But also, in and among, while we were trying to figure all this out, I got a text off your mum saying, she was like, so she sent a few, we send updates, we send photos and all this. And Scott's mum was like, I hope you're both okay. No, she sent me one because she was confused about a message you'd sent her saying, is Scott okay? He sent me a message that's out of character. And like, literally all he said was, let me know if you need anything. Or like, you were just sending her a sweet message, which is like you. I was like, oh yeah, no, that was Scott. And then we got a message saying, safe travels. I bet you're looking forward to seeing your cat. And now I don't have a cat. I've got a dog. And I was like, so like, we're thinking, has Scott's mum lost her marbles? Or like, is it typo or what? Like, what's going on? But so I responded saying, oh yeah, thank you very much. See you soon, sort of thing. Like, because we're heading back to the UK.
Yeah, two things on that. One, my mum had just undergone an operation and she's at home because she's recovering. So we thought, okay, maybe she's on some medication. Maybe she's sort of high a bit. And also the other thing, with the cat, I just said, oh, she's probably misspelt it, which is hard to misspell, but I just thought, we either thought she's misspelt it or she's high on her recovery meds. So, yeah, you carry on.
Yeah. So I thought I didn't want to be like, what you on about? So I just responded to everything apart from the cat bit. And then she rang me, but we're like in the midst of trying to figure out which door to go through and like showing us passports to armed officers. And then she rang again. I was like, oh, we better answer it. And then she's like, oh, thank God. Like, I was so worried. I was like, what are you worried about? She was like, well, I tried tricking you because I sent a message about the cat. And then when you didn't say anything about the cat, I thought, oh, they've been kidnapped. So bless her, she was like in panic stations because she thought she caught out our kidnappers by, which was very clever actually to pose that kind of question that, how's your cat when I don't have a cat? That is very quick thinking on your mum's part.
Yeah, I just don't get how we got there. Because even when we answered the phone to her, she wasn't convinced that we were okay at first. She was like, yeah, but are you really okay? And the more she started pressing, I thought, right, already when we were chatting about what was going on, because we were starting to get a bit concerned about her, because we were like, oh, I don't know, I think I need to call mum to see what's up going on here. And then she gets on the phone and she's being all weird with us. I was starting to get quite worried, because I thought, fucking hell, what, summit's, I don't know, maybe the operation's gone, maybe something in her brain's going weird. I started getting a bit panicked that something's going wrong with her. But this whole time she thinks she's just acting weird because she thinks we've been kidnapped. But then
Pat was there as well, and I feel like he was enabling it. I think they've been watching too many crime dramas. He was like, yeah, we were really worried.
Yeah, that's what shocked me. When I heard Pat's voice, I was reassured because, Pat's Pat's there.
That's Scott's mum's boyfriend.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, so things are okay right now. But then he was saying the same things. Yeah, the cadence of your messaging, the way it was written. I was like, what are you both talking about? I was like, what? I still can't wrap my head around what I had. The only thing that I can understand that might have, I don't know how they would have taken it there, but I said, if I can help in any way, let me know. And obviously I'm abroad. There's not really anything I can do. But I just meant it as like a kind thing. If there's anything I can do, I don't know, maybe I can organise something over the phone for them. Maybe she's struggling with something online I can sort out. I always sort, So, I just meant generally if there's anything I can do. I know I'm far away. But they ran with that and said, oh, well, that was an odd thing to say because you're not here. What could you do? I was like, well, it was just a sort of comment to say I'm here for you. So... But I think that was only a bit. I think they were going to run away with it anyway. But
yeah. I think so because then, well, bless them, they were just worried, weren't they? But that was a funny end to our Well, I think that was going to Delhi, wasn't it?
It was going Delhi, I don't know. Two things before we do move on to our recently new segment, which started last episode, is one, we really wanted to do a comedy show. So we signed up to a comedy show. To go watch one. Because we really wanted to check out, comedy around the world to see what it's like. And it said English on there. And we got there. And they started in English. And then they introduced themselves in English. And then progressed the rest of the show totally in Hindi. And we just thought maybe it'd be a segment in Hindi. But then they went round the crowd pointing at them, speaking in Hindi. And then finally got to us and pointed to us, said something to us in Hindi. And then said it again. And then we just went, we have no clue what you're saying. And he went, oh shit. Sorry guys, but I don't know if this is going to work. It's in Hindi. And we were like, what the fuck? It said English.
Yeah, well, it said English and Hindi. So I said that to him. I was like, oh, online it said English and Hindi. He went, yeah, the bits where we go, welcome to the stage, that's in English and the rest is in Hindi. I was like, what the fuck? Why would you do that? Why not just do it all in Hindi? Because, I mean, there's us and one other group in there who only spoke Hindi and no English. So, I don't know, it made no sense to me. But that is just perfect. None of India made sense to me, so.
It was bizarre. It was like, honestly, it was like if we're in France now, if we, we went to a comedy show now and it, did the first bit in English and the rest in French.
Mm.
It was bizarre, and I don't know whether they just scammed us out of a ticket or whether it was actually supposed to be in Hindi, but just be aware if it says Hindi/English, it's probably just going to be in Hindi. Mm-hmm. But the introduction is in English. That's the most bizarre thing. The other thing I did want to talk about India, I feel could be quite a deep conversation, so actually I think it's better to keep for another episode.
Okay. Well, I look forward to it, my darling. I look forward to hearing all about it.
So now we move into our somewhat new segment, because it was new last episode, and that's where we give you our favourite and least favourite thing about the last country we visited, and our first impressions of the new country we're in. So I guess I'll go first. So my favourite thing, are we doing favourite first?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Favourite thing about India was
Would you like me to go first?
You go first. No, I'm going to go first, because I might just end up copying you otherwise. No, honestly, I think my favourite thing, and I hope this isn't a cop-out, is that how accepting the Hindu religion is.
I was not expecting that as your answer, and I don't think that's a cop-out at all. I think that's very interesting.
Okay, I'm happy it's not a cop-out. I just thought because it wasn't a physical thing, or like food, or this monument, or the sun. But honestly, the Hindu religion, and I'll tell you why. Number one, the thing that I learned about the Hindu religion is it's less of a religion and more a way of life, which was the first interesting thing that I learned about it. Hinduism has lots of deities. But again, when I kept on speaking to people, it seemed that they kept on making a point of it's less of a religion and more a way of you live your life. And the more I learned about the history of how Muslim the Muslim community integrated into India, and how there are even temples that allow both worshipping of the Hindu deities and the Muslim deities at the same, to be able to worship both of them in the same temple, which I've never heard of any temple, any church, cathedral, whatever, to be able to, worship the same, separate, different religions under the same roof. But in India, this happens, and it's very much because of the accepted nature of Hinduism. And also, I might also add the accepting nature of Muslim, because actually the Taj Mahal, the guy who built this, actually opened up a mosque next to the Taj Mahal, and he made a point that it was open to both Hindus and Muslims to worship their gods. So, but from learning the history and from people talking about Hinduism, I just thought it was just so interesting how through history they've not, from what I learned at least, they didn't reject other religions or reject other people's ways of life. They accepted everyone, and they were willing for them to worship their religion. And I just think that's really beautiful, and we could really learn from that. So I think that's really beautiful, and really you feel it from the people as well, because, you know, I know we've mentioned the place is crazy and it's all very busy, but the people are genuinely really nice. You know, the people are really nice, and I think that's, you know, from what I've learned, is very much because of Hinduism. What, you know, the people, yeah. Anyway, I'll leave it there.
Interesting. Yeah, I was not expecting you to say that, darling, and I think that's a really lovely summary of not only Hindu culture, but Indian culture generally. Like, they are, like you said, just lovely people, very welcoming, very accepting. So yeah, I think that's a very interesting observation. For me, my favourite thing about India has to be, I mean, there are a lot of things that I really enjoyed, I must say. Again, I know I feel like I've been really like negging it, but everything, and I mean everything down to toothpaste and bottles of water, if it's vegetarian, it has a green square with a dot in the middle of it. So, like, if you just imagine it, like a really small green circle with a green square outline around it, that indicates that item is suitable for vegetarians. And I mean, it's literally on bottles of water and bottles of Coke, and literally on toothpaste. And if it contains meat or even egg, it has a red/reddish purple triangle within the same colour square. So it makes it really obvious, and that will be on menus, that will be on like takeaways, it'll be on absolutely everything, really clear. And like your delivery services like Uber Eats delivery, that kind of thing, it's called Swiggy, the one that we used, you can filter to veg only, and you can even filter to purely vegetarian restaurants, which is really amazing. So that made it so much easier, because everything is, I mean, they do use a lot of ghee in Indian cooking, but they understand straight away, you know, if I say I do not eat ghee, I don't eat dairy, they're more than willing and happy to accommodate to that. So ordering food was really easy, because it was just a case of finding the green thing and then asking for it to be cooked without ghee and no cream added, that kind of thing, because it automatically was going to have no egg in it, because they have a different word for that in India, which is eggitarian, which I think is very funny. So they've got vegetarian, eggitarian, and then meat, or non-veg as they call it.
Jain.
Yeah, there's Jain, which Jains don't have, they don't have garlic or onion, or I believe anything that's grown underground.
Yeah.
And that's, from what we understand, to do with the fact that it can harm worms, you know, so it's, but they do actually have dairy. I found that Jain things will contain dairy, so anyway, it's confusing. But you know, cows are holy in India, as you're probably aware, and yeah, it's illegal to kill a cow and to eat cows. So I would actually be interested in learning about the dairy industry in India, because I don't actually know anything about it. Because if they're not killing cows, like the dairy industry the world over kills calves, you know, as soon as they're born, because if they're a male calf, then they're no use to the dairy industry. So they'll keep the odd one that'll grow up to be a bull and stud them. But yeah, anyway, that's a discussion for a different day, but I'd like to learn more about the dairy industry in India. So my favourite thing about India is how easy it is to find vegetarian food. What is your least favourite thing about India, Scott?
And just to add on the cows as well, there are, I mean, there's all religions there, so we found that there was quite a big Catholic and Christian community due to the British conquering India. Bastards. We learned a lot about that, actually. That was one consistency we've learned from travelling is that the British have done some pretty bad stuff.
Yeah.
It's actually not even funny, but we're just like, what? I didn't know that. We never got told that. Wait, what? I got told it this way. Like, it's been eye opening. But yeah, on the cows, I was saying, because it's different religions, of course. It's only Hinduism that it's the cows are sacred. Therefore, beef, it is consumed. It's not consumed in India.
I didn't realise that. I thought it was an India-wide thing, like separate to the religion.
It is and it isn't. So anyway, we because I've got colleagues there, I was able to get the local knowledge. And again, there are places you can acquire, but you have to. It's on the down low. So yeah.
Like drug dealing, but
Honestly, it's cow dealing, because again, it's like, it's sacred. But again, if you're there and you believe in a religion that they're not sacred, then you might want some beef. So anyway, I'm not on either side. It's just that's what we observed. Yeah. So what do I least like? For me, and it's really hard to say this, because this is like also the thing that I love the most and will continue to enjoy the rest of my life. It was the food. I love Indian food. I love Indian food wherever I go. And I loved it in India. But what I didn't love is, no matter how many times I asked for them to change it or try adapt it, every time I had an Indian meal, my stomach was in bits the next day. Shelby luckily fared better than me, so she's obviously got a stronger stomach than me, which I've learned through our relationship that Shelby's much stronger than me in every way, and lucky because she's got to pop one out.
Don't be saying that.
Don't be saying that. Mothers, close your ears. Cut that out. But seriously, the food, it's torture on your stomach, because you're not used to the heat of it. The masala powder, like I said earlier, you can't get it out. It's part of the cooking process. So you're going to have a lovely meal, and, the next morning, your stomach's going to be on fire. You're going to be on the toilet for 3 hours. Yeah, and some days, one day I was sick. I was ill all day. So that was, it was so difficult, because I was like, oh, this food is so good, I'm going to eat it on the next day. I was like, oh, I can't eat again. And then 6 hours later, oh yeah, but I do fancy another curry. I'll have another one. And the next one, I was like, oh no, I can't do it again. And I just did it for 30 days straight. But to let it, what is just so taxing the body, so, I just didn't know when I was going to go anymore. I just saw it was happening. I'd just be walking and go, oh, I've been. So that was my comment.
Yes, I felt very sorry for you, my darling. It was horrible that you were so affected by it. And that's not to say that I wasn't affected by it, because I was. I did have an upset tummy as well. So even though you're saying that I've got a strong tum-tum, it's not easy. And, I eat quite a lot of spicy food. So yeah, but you really suffered, and I hated that. For me, my least favourite thing, which we will definitely touch on in a later episode, is being stared at. Everywhere, because we stuck out like two pasty thumbs.
Two pasty thumbs.
Yeah, and yeah, one brief example is that guy at Qutub Minar who tried to sneakily get a picture with us. Yeah, So this one guy just tried, he sat next to us on the bench, and like his mates were taking pictures of him next to us, and yeah. So that's the one thing that I really, and that was, it wasn't everyone that was like that way, of course, but I feel like that really like dampened my experience. Like, yeah, people staring and making me feel uncomfortable. So that was my least favourite thing about India. Scott, what was the first... Because this is your first time. Go on.
I just feel like we could talk more on that.
We could, but we've only got like 5 minutes left of the episode, and I think we can talk about it next episode.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yes. I just wanted to express how much the stare is, because you go around Asia, you'll get stared at. You'll get people that have not met many white people before. They're going to want a photo with you. You will experience that, but I just want to make it clear there's a big difference between the places we'd been elsewhere in India. In other places, they would look again, maybe stare at you for a couple of seconds. In India, they would gawp at you.
Yeah, it's gawping, isn't it?
Like, it would be like, I wish we had a video, but they, just turn their head, eyes go wide, mouth open, and just stay there until he left. And you'd be like, dude, are you not going to look away now? Like, no, there's that, there's no video, I just did it, but but yeah, they'd just gawp at you, and that's what would make you uncomfortable. It wasn't like them just trying to look at you and then look away, trying to be sly about it. It's like they didn't care. Like, yeah. And again, they might just be a mate. I don't know what it is, but they've not, whatever it is. But yeah, especially I can understand being a female, walking around on your own. That's an added level of stress. I can completely understand that.
Mm. Yeah, because I did have to do that one night. I was walking to meet you and your work colleagues at a bar because I couldn't get a taxi. I did eventually get a tuk-tuk, which was amazing, because then I think, was it Jonas that got on the phone? Yeah, so one of Scott's mates got on the phone and told the guy where to take me, because everyone else was just like, I don't know what you're saying. But yeah, so yeah, it is the fact that it's gawping and not just like the odd look is fine, whatever, but actually full on gawping and taking sneaky pictures. That's what I didn't like. But yeah, Scott, this is your first time in Paris, the beautiful city of love. Are you ready to tell me the first thing that you noticed?
I can give it a go. I've really enjoyed Paris. I've briefly been in France. I went to Chamonix to a ski resort, and it was for a weekend, so I don't, it was a really cool ski resort, but I don't feel like I've experienced France until now, and loved it. First impression was the amount of beautiful architecture. Now, two things I look for when I'm travel, something consistently I will always look for when I'm traveling is, where's the nice architecture and where can I learn the history? They're always two things I look for first. And in France, I didn't even have to look for it. It was just there. Something about France I really like is that, or my first impression was just how much they managed to maintain all the buildings of the old architecture. The stonework is so intricate. And yes, you will find that around the world, especially around Europe. But what I found differently with France is that there's a lot more preserved, loads more preserved. So you don't have to walk too far to see a monument, because they're everywhere. And all the buildings, the banks, the museums, the libraries, the universities, you just have to walk around Paris and you're going to see lots of nice buildings. You're not having to walk or get taxis specifically to places. You just walk about wherever you want to go to that cafe. On the way, you're going to see some nice buildings. For me, that was a really nice sort of first impression.
Lovely. And for me, it's kind of difficult because I've been to Paris quite a few times. And every single time I've been, it's just been a delight. I've absolutely loved it. So in terms of first impressions this time, I think maybe how much it feels like home. Because we've been to so many places that have been totally different. Like, nowhere we've been has been anything at all like home this year so far. And I think to be back in Europe, like, and I could get quite emotional thinking about it, but like I am European, you know what I mean? Like I am. And that, as much as I love traveling and I love experiencing new cultures, I love, it's hard to explain because even though France is different to the UK, it's still got, it's a familiarity and it's a comfort and it's a safety. So I think that's probably the first, like, yeah, I think the first thing that I noticed coming here is how it was almost like I can relax now. I don't really need to think too much about things. I know that I'm safe. Not that I felt unsafe anywhere, but, you know, I know that I'm safe. I understand how this country works. I know that if I end up in hospital, I am fine. Like, I know that's a pretty extreme stance to take, but, you know, like, it's a bit of familiarity. It's a bit of comfort. And it's like being at your mate's house. That's what it's like.
I totally get that. Especially coming from India, which is a lot more extreme to where the places we'd been. And I think it's good that we ended on India because we'd had that sort of extra experience of jumping around lots of different places and, you know, built us up ready. So we were, you know, able to take on a place like that for a month and manage it and, you know, still enjoy ourselves. So yeah, it you know, going from that to here, yeah, I totally get that. You know, the comfort, you know, everything, we know everything. The only thing we don't know is French. So that can be more challenging than I expected, actually. I thought, you know, I've learnt French in school and I thought, you know, it's similar, you know, one of the easier languages to pick up for English, for English people, but it's been harder than I thought. It's actually been quite hard. But anyway, yeah, it's a beautiful place and it's wonderful to be back.
It truly is. And I feel like that is a good spot for us to start wrapping things up. And I think for the first time, we may be slightly under an hour.
Slightly under an hour. We're not even going to do our final bits.
Well, shall we? That will take us definitely 10 minutes over the hour.
Okay, well, maybe we just say, how about we finish off with a couple things here. One, we stole Ben Stiller's seat.
We did. So, okay, I'm going for it. For my birthday, because it's my birth week, so we've decided we don't have birthdays anymore, we have birth weeks. And for special birthdays, birth months. And Scott got me for my birthday tickets to Roland Garros, the French Open, because I'm a massive tennis fan. And thank you, baby. Best birthday present ever. So we got tickets for the Susan Lenglen court. I probably butchered her name. Susan Lenglen.
Lengen. Susan Lengen.
Is it Lengen?
Yeah.
Okay. In her court. And we saw some amazing matches that first day. So we had a seat in there all day, like an assigned seat. And then for the last 2 days, we had grounds passes, which got us access to all the outside courts, but also Susan Lingen and Philip not Philip Chatrier, that's the main one, Simon Matthew court, become outside courts, and we saw some incredible matches. We even saw Coco Gauff playing doubles, and I got a tennis ball signed by her because Scott very smartly said, because it was like open seating in there, they just opened them up, and for whatever reason it's empty on a morning. So tip for you, if you're a big tennis fan, just go early and you'll have whatever seat you want. Scott was like, well, why don't we go over there where the players come in and out, and then maybe you'll, you know, get an up close look and try and get a signature. So we did that. We got a front row seat, so I got to see Coco Gauff playing front row seat, and managed to get her autograph as well. And also Joe Salisbury in his doubles match got his autograph too. And yes, it was incredible. And then yesterday we managed to get into the VIP box of Susan Lennon. Would you like to talk about that, Scott?
We did. We stole Ben Stiller's seat. So if you're a tennis fan, you would have known Ben Stiller's a big tennis fan. and he loves
Rafa. He loves Rafa Nadal like me.
He loves Rafa. Sadly, Rafa got knocked out the first round, but he did get knocked out by the 4th seed, who is currently in the semi-final. So he got knocked out by a very good player called Zverev, who I may have a small bet on. But Ben Stiller went to see one of the main matches the other day, and, we were pissed off we didn't meet him, so we decided to steal his seat. Mm-hmm. So out of spite, so we sat in his VIP seating, and we knew we were ready if he came. We'd say, sorry, mate, you're going to have to sit somewhere else.
Should have got here earlier.
Should have got here earlier. So, yeah. But yeah, we saw Medvedev.
Just to say, we would have saved your seat, but along came Polly.
But along came Polly. There we go. Now fuck off.
You fucker.
You fucker. Yeah, I'm sure you would have loved us.
We love Ben Stiller, just to clarify. We do love him. He's very funny.
Yeah, we do love him. We're just having a laugh. But just to list off some names: Coco Gauff, Medvedev, Fritz,
Titi Pass.
Tell them your joke about Titi Pass.
So there's 2 Titi Pass brothers. I said, well, it'd been great if one of them was gay, because the way he could have come out was titties, pass.
Oh, God. And if you know anything about Titty Pass, he's quite he's got quite a temper on him. So I did advise Shelby to go tell him the joke to try brighten his day, but he looked like he was going to throttle her, so she decided not to. So yeah, but no, we saw lots of stars. It's been awesome, and I'm sure we'll talk about it even more in the next episode. But yeah, what an episode. I think this has been a great one, great introduction to Paris. We're going to carry on the week, celebrating Shelby's birth week. Remember when you're an adult, you get a birth week, not a birthday. And yeah, we're just going to carry on having a great time living life.
We are indeed.
And so should you guys. Go live life. And if you've stuck through this from the start and, you came here for something else, then good on you. Now, pull your trousers up and maybe just get on with your day. We thank you for taking a break from your day to get balls deep with us. Until next time, remember, stay ballsy.
Dive deep,
but don't forget your snorkel. Balls deep.